Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're tuning into this, you're probably getting ready to bring a Norwegian Forest Cat into your life. And let me tell you, this isn't just a quick transaction. We're talking about a 14 to 16-year commitment to a living, breathing companion. Because of that, you really can't afford to just be a passive buyer. It is incredibly easy to be fooled by an Instagram-perfect breeder profile that's just packed with adorable kitten photos, right? So to separate the true professionals from the scams, you need to put on your detective hat. The questions you ask a breeder before putting down any deposit are going to tell you way more about their actual practices than any polished website ever could. Today, we're going to walk through the 14 essential questions you need to ask to guarantee you're working with a truly responsible breeder.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the roadmap for our investigation. First up, health and genetics. Second, early care and socialization. Third, we'll hit contracts, pricing, and logistics. And finally, spotting breeder red flags. All right, starting with Section 1, health and genetics. This is the absolute critical first step. Here is your anchor question. This is literally the single most important thing you can ask to protect your kitten's lifelong well-being, not to mention protecting your wallet from massive vet bills later on. You have to ask, do both parents have current GSD-IV and HCM testing documentation? Now, I want you to focus heavily on that word documentation. You must ask to physically see the actual paperwork. In the breeder world, trust but verify is the absolute golden rule. Relying on a verbal, "Oh yeah, they're healthy" from the breeder, it's just not enough. Because anyone can claim their cats are healthy. A genuine, reputable breeder takes immense pride in their paperwork. They treat clean health tests almost like a trophy, and honestly, they'll probably hand those documents over before you even finish asking the question. And this brilliantly illustrates why these specific acronyms are absolute non-negotiables. So GSD, IV, that requires a specific genetic DNA test to check for a fatal metabolic disorder. HCM, on the other hand, stands for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. That's a cardiac screening. Sadly, HCM is one of the leading causes of sudden heartbreak for cat owners. It's a disease that often strikes cats right in the prime of their lives. But here's the critical detail. Heart conditions can develop slowly over time. Because of that, a single one-time check when the cat is young is basically useless for catching HCM. Real screening requires periodic echocardiogram monitoring. You are looking for a breeder who actively and continuously monitors the cardiac health of their breeding cats year after year after year. So once you've verified those basics, you want to deepen the health check. You should ask if the breeder can provide a 3 to 4 generation pedigree. That lets you track any notable health conditions down the family line. Ask them about their genetic diversity management too, like do they purposely introduce new bloodlines to keep the population robust. You also want to ask if they participate in PawPeds. That's an independent, breeder-run health testing database. This matters immensely because an independent database acts as an impartial judge. It essentially prevents breeders from just hiding bad genetic results in the desk drawer. Breeders who voluntarily submit their cats' records to these independent databases are demonstrating a level of accountability that goes way beyond the bare minimum requirements. Moving right along. Section 2, early care and socialization. This is all about why those first 12 weeks absolutely matter. The central question in this phase is twofold. Where exactly are the kittens raised? And at what age do they go to their new homes? Listen, the environment a kitten spends its first couple of months in is the absolute blueprint for its adult temperament. The answer to this question is quite literally the difference between getting a cat that permanently hides under the bed for years whenever the doorbell rings and a confident companion who enthusiastically runs to greet your guests right at the front door. You want to heavily prioritize an active home environment. Just imagine a kitten growing up in the middle of a bustling house. They're getting constant human contact. They hear normal everyday sounds like buzzing vacuums, ringing doorbells, spontaneous laughter. They're being safely handled by multiple people, and maybe even carefully meeting other household pets. That kind of sensory-rich experience produces a confident, incredibly well-adjusted adult cat. Contrast that vividly with an isolated space. If kittens are kept in a separate outbuilding, a garage, or just a completely closed-off back room, they suffer from a damaging silence. They completely miss out on that critical human and environmental exposure during their prime developmental window. You absolutely want to ensure they have a home-based socialization program. So, the crucial point is knowing what realistic, responsible standards actually look like. Reputable breeders rarely, if ever, release kittens before 12 weeks of age. They just desperately need that extended time for proper weaning and crucial behavioral socialization with their mom and their littermates. You should also ask about their appearance. Like, will temporary kitten features such as ghost striping fade? Ghost striping is just those faint, temporary tabby markings that solid-colored kittens often have, but they eventually outgrow them. Also, ask how many litters the queen has had. This is where true empathy for the animal shows up. Responsible breeders strictly limit breeding frequency to protect the mother's long-term health. And remember, breeding timing isn't perfectly predictable. If a breeder is giving you a 100% guaranteed delivery date for a litter that hasn't even been conceived yet, yeah, they're likely overpromising.
All right, let's talk business. Section 3, Contracts, Pricing, and Logistics.
You need to ask direct questions about the pricing structure to avoid some major financial headaches later on. Imagine getting a seemingly reasonable base quote, falling completely in love with a kitten, and then realizing right before pickup that initial vaccinations, microchipping, and official registry papers are going to cost you hundreds of dollars more out of pocket. No, thank you. You need to ask exactly what the quoted base price includes. Does it cover those initial vet checks and the registration paperwork? Or are those considered premium extras? Also ask if the price fluctuates based on specific coloring, the sex of the kitten, or its show potential, even within the exact same litter. Get all these financial details completely cleared up upfront so there are zero surprises on adoption day. Now, if you're buying remotely, which is increasingly common these days, logistics are absolutely paramount. What is their standard process for distant buyers? Do they coordinate with professional, insured pet transporters? Who exactly is handling the required travel health documents for the airlines? But listen, the absolute most critical step here is requesting a live video call. This is a totally standard baseline accommodation today. Scammers can easily steal cute photos or pre-recorded videos from someone else's website, but they cannot fake a live, interactive video call with a specific kitten in real time. If a breeder is entirely unwilling to hop on a quick video call to verify the kitten before requiring payment, proceed with extreme caution. That is an immediate, glaring warning sign.
This brings us to a tough but highly necessary question. What happens if something goes wrong after purchase? Look, real life happens. Unforeseen circumstances pop up, a hidden genetic issue could suddenly emerge months down the line, or hey, your own life circumstances might drastically change. Maybe a severe allergy develops, or there's an unexpected move that forces you to make the heartbreaking decision to rehome the cat.
How a breeder proactively handles these less than ideal situations reveals their true character. You are looking for a breeder who remains willingly available for ongoing advice long after that check clears. You want to see practical, thoughtful care. Like, do they provide a starter supply of the kitten's current food to prevent painful digestive upset when they transition to your home? But most importantly, responsible breeders usually have a strict return-to-breeder policy in their contract. This is the ultimate litmus test of a breeder's ethics. A breeder who doesn't want their cat back if things go wrong is just a salesperson. A true steward of the breed demands the cat be returned to their program rather than facing uncertain rehoming or ending up in a shelter. It shows a genuine, lifelong commitment to the animals they bring into the world.
And now for our final investigative phase. Section 4, Spotting Breeder Red Flags. We are going to watch their behavior.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how the breeder responds. Pay very close attention to their body language, their tone of voice, and just their overall attitude. Because honestly, there is literally no upper limit to how many questions you're allowed to ask when you're making a 16-year financial and emotional commitment. A truly reputable breeder considers your deep dive a massive green flag. They genuinely welcome thorough questioning, they treat document transparency as the absolute standard, and they are thrilled that you're a prepared, educated buyer. Conversely, watch out for defensiveness, vague non-answers, or visible irritation. If a breeder gets annoyed that you're simply asking standard vetting questions, you need to walk away immediately, regardless of how incredibly cute the kitten's photos happen to be.
Let's move to our next logical step and see how this builds. You should simply ask, can I speak with previous buyers from your program? This is a totally normal expected request in the pedigree cat world. Established breeders should have a whole roster of happy, satisfied buyers, and they're usually thrilled to connect you with them so you can hear about their positive experiences firsthand. An absolute unwillingness to provide past references or making up weird excuses for why you can't speak to them, yeah, that warrants some serious scrutiny.
Look, if you take away just one core principle from everything we've meticulously discussed today, let it be this powerful summary. Health testing transparency is the clearest single indicator of a responsible breeding program. Everything we've covered comes right back to that underlying willingness to be entirely open, strictly document-driven, and prioritizing the long-term health and vitality of the breed over any short-term sales.
So, we've come to the end of our explainer. You now have the structural roadmap, you have the precise 14 questions to ask, and you know the critical red flags to look out for. The final question is really for you. Will you let the immediate excitement of a cute photo override your common sense, or will you confidently demand the transparency that this incredible 15-year companion deserves? The choice and the investigation is now yours.